Welcome back to the channel and Sandustry, the game where you dig a hole to China using guns. Alright, so in the last episode we had this little setup. Digging sand over here, drops it into the water, it becomes wet sand, sucks it up over here, moves all the way along. Up here onto the shakers, it then shakes the hell out of it, and money, or gold shall I say, and then it brings the slag, which is this, there we go, slag, all the way over here to our slag pit. Now we've got 1,055 bucks and we need to do something about the slag. We also need to get the sand and wet sand out of this and onto here. So let's open up the research menu and see. Okay, so we got guns, right? Unlocks gun, damage type is dig. Right, this opens up this little sucker over here. Whee! And then we can use this to dig. Just grab this sand and chuck it in there. Alright, that water. Yes, it is. Okay, so we got a little bit of water in here as well. And as you can see, now use the gun to dig. Excellent. And as the sand is jumping along, goes through the cycle again, we get some more gold. Alright, so let's see, what can we do about the slag? Let's go back to research. We're gonna need, is it filters? Unlocks filters and conveyors. That's only 100 bucks. I think we should do that now. Unlocks filters that work like conveyor belts but can allow certain elements to pass through. Alright, let's do that. Refining is what we need, I think. There we go. Unlocks kinetic slag press to further process burnt slag into more gold. I think that's what we need. It's 1,000. So we are going to need to extend our slag bit, so we can process more sand, so we can get to that 1,000. So let's do that. Let's open up this a bit and do this. There we go. Nicely done. Alright. And what did we open up? We did open up filters. Okay, so this is what filters look like. When you click on filters, it gives you two options. Allow only selected element through, or block selected element and allow everything else. So if I say let's allow only sand through. Let's quickly just give you a demonstration. Alright. And I grab slag. The slag is going to sit on top of it. And then when I do sand, the sand's just going to fall right through it. Same with wet sand. That will block it. Alright. So if we then say block selected element and allow everything else, and we choose sand again, now when I throw sand on it, it will block the sand and it will allow the slag through and the wet sand. Right, so that's how we're going to filter this. Let me first try and get the kinetic, what was it called? Kinetic press. kinetic slag press. Let's try and get that open first. So we need 1,000. So that means a little bit more digging. So that means we're gonna do a little bit of a fast forward section again of me just digging. Alright, let's go. Alright, let's see if this heap is gonna make it. Let's just use all this water that's down here as well. Just throw all the sand on it. It sucks up that water. Alright, so now what I'm gonna do is let's copy this part. We're just gonna need the one. Come on. Take the 2, make it 4, take the 4, make it 8, and so on and so forth. Alright, and then we grab this section so we can extend it. Like so. And let's see what this yields. How much this yields. Okay, so now it's more than we need. This is a lot of sand. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this run through. What I'm gonna do is let's extend this a little bit. Over here. And let's add some more of what's this called? The collector blocks. And then number 4, so we can add a conveyor just to grab the gold that falls down there. There we go. Alright, so this is going to take a while, so we're going to leave this to run. Okay, so it emptied this out. Okay, so we got some water left. And this has to go through. Okay, so let's leave it so it does its thing. See where we end up. Okay, now that the wet sand's done, let's quickly just move this along. Get all the slag off of here. I'd usually just leave it, but I just want for the purpose of this video, move it along. Which I actually don't need to do. Okay, let's grab the, what's this? Let's leave that. That's sand. No, we want the sand. Come here, you little piece of sand. Let's just throw it in here. Okay, so now, first, let's concentrate on getting all this out. So what I'm gonna do is, let's see, is that everything? No, it's not. Got these little pieces over here left. And now everything's done. Okay. Reason being is I want to shorten this up. Launcher. Alright, so the shakers we're not going to use a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the block and I'm going to throw it in there. Because we're going to use the blocks a lot. Let's do this. Alright, then let's extend this to over here. Alright. Sorry, I need number 5. Okay, so we're going to move the... We actually, this is going to be a little bit of a mission. Alright, so I'm quickly gonna build this and then I'll explain to you what I did. Well, let's do it. Okay, so we're gonna have slag and sand and wet sand come through. So this is where the filters come in play. So first we're gonna do this and we're gonna say allow slag through. So we want only slag to get through. 1, 2, let's make it 3. Right. Let's make it a nice big heap that can come through. 1, 2 over here. We want to let slag pass through again. Right, over here. Again, allow slag. And 2. Let's say over here about. Yeah, let's make it equal to this. Alright, so slag can fall through all of these, but not the sand and the wet sand. Alright, and then we're going to use the launchers again. Make a couple of launchers over here. Let's copy those over. We want them to go all the way. So in theory, it's only going to be sand and wet sand that comes through here. Let's do just one small one over there. Let's copy this along again. Alright, so now what's going to happen is then the sand and wet sand is going to drop down here, which we don't want. We want it to go further. Let's just extend this as well. Let's copy these again. Nope, that was by accident. There we go. We want them over there. I'm gonna copy this whole row down here. Okay, now the problem we're sitting with is that. We can't get him down here because this is blocked off. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we just want him down here for now. Alright, so let's take out all this for now. Just so they can fall in here. And we'll do this. Alright. I'm just gonna delete all this because I've got a different plan. What I want to do over here. Let's just get rid of everything. Let's put in a little block over here because we're not going to worry about this now. We want to get the slag processed. We just want to separate things first. Alright, I think that's it. Then the sand will go down there. Let's remove this as well. And just for safety's sake, we'll block that off. Alright, now let's get launchers in here. We want 2 launchers to throw them up here, and then 2 to throw them up here. And oh, I thought I made it 3. Yeah, let's keep it at 2. all the way down. And now we want to move everything along in the quickest way possible. Okay, I'm just thinking this is just gonna cycle over and over and over, so I don't think this flew properly. So what I think we should do is actually get rid of this whole thing. Just get rid of this whole thing. Oh, beautiful. Okay, I'm just gonna block this off for now. So now we know we've got tons and tons of slag. Alright, so let's make another slag bit over here. Alright. Then I think we should just block it off over here. Block that off over there. Remove all this. There we go. Because we need some room. We're gonna need some room. Then we are gonna say allow only slag through. One, two, three, four. Alright, allow only slag through up until about here. Right. So slag's gonna fall down here. Then we take another one, we say block only slag from, let's say, here. Take that through, and then that should just bring the slag through. Alright, so we'll block this off like that. Just make sure it doesn't overflow. Then this will come up like this. Let's block this off. Alright. That should work, because this will allow the slag to go through. This will block it and send it along over here. And then what we do is get this going over here. This will then be sand and wet sand, because slag will go through the filters. Then we can move this along. Right, so in theory that is sound. Alright, so let's see what happens. Let me extend these all the way down. Okay, so that works. Brilliant. So it's gonna block the slag. Now the slag's gonna fill up here a lot, so that's why I gave it space. That. Okay, the reason I do this is so that we can get more slag into here. Because if you have it all the way down to here, the first one's just gonna pick it up the whole time. You see. This feels better. Look. Here we go. Okay, let me just knock that off there. Alright, now we are going to need some of these. So let's copy them over. Down here. There we go. Just extend them. Okay, that doesn't matter. You know what? Let me do it properly. This doesn't matter. My hand is not doing what I wanted to do, but it's okay. No, I pressed the wrong button. I thought we were on 9 already. Okay, let's copy this through. Copy this through as well. And now we just let it do its thing. Alright, so that's how filters work in essence as well. We're going to use them a lot. We're going to build a nice little setup that filters everything. Alright, that's coming a little bit later. Alright, so it's working. It's letting the slag through, but it's blocking the sand and the wet sand. And that in turn then gets all the way bounced over here back into the pit. And then once those are separated, we can just build that little section over here again. But we're going to do something a little bit different. And just filter that through again to make some more money. Alright, so while we're looking at this, let's see what else can we unlock. We've got 1,600 bucks. Let me just park over here. And you guys can watch this going around. Let's see. Refining 2 gives us unlocks kinetic slag press. That's what we wanted. Let's research that. Then we've got tools. Unlocks a flamethrower to burn slag, melt ice and vaporize water into steam that rises and become rain. Okay, so let's do that as well. 400 bucks left. Anything else we can do? Tools 2 gives us a vacuum to move piles of sand. I don't use the vacuum. Lights for 750. We don't want. We can't get the tools anyways. All right. So we did unlock the kinetic press, so we'll use that as soon as all this is moved. Oh, it's heaping up. Okay, that's why I put the filter all the way through here, because if it heaps up and slag gets stuck over here, as soon as it moves and gets some space, it will fall through as well anyways. Alright, so I'm just going to leave this to sift through. Alright, so the theory was sound, but now we've got slag sitting on top of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, because we don't want it in between the sand and the wet sand. We just don't have enough room, but it's fine. Alright, so now that that whole thing has been filtered through and we've removed the sand and the wet sand from the slag, we can now, just to help this along, I'm just going to build a couple of launchers so we can just get this moving along quicker. I'm going to delete this section anyways, because we're going to process the slag now. Alright, let's leave this to do its little thing, get everything into the new slag pit, and then we'll see what happens when we burn the slag with the flamethrower. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the flamethrower, which you find under inventory. That's where you can find your gun and your flamethrower and your shovel, which is not a shovel, which is 2 guns. I'm going to move it over here, because we're going to use it quite a lot. Alright, so everything's been moved. Now let's get rid of this over here. because we don't need that anymore. We've moved the slag. Let's just do this. Okay, so let's just test what happens. Let's make a little box over here. Let's grab some slag. Right, we're going to use the flamethrower. And let's burn the slag. Alright, as you can see, the volume of slag becomes way less. And it leaves us with burnt slag. We've got a little piece of slag still in there, so let's burn that sucker up. Ooh, I don't want to... Ooh. Oops. Okay, never mind. Anyways, we can have tons of burnt slag now. Alright, so let's see what the kinetic press does. Kinetic slag press. Drop burnt slag into the kinetic slag press from a great height to refine it into gold and spores. Okay, so we're gonna get some more gold. Let's put one down here. Let's see. Okay, let's put another one down there. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so what we do is let's just block this off. See what happens if we drop a handful of burnt slag in here. Oh, okay, so now we got spores and we got gold. Okay, so some burnt slag didn't go through. There we go. Alright, as you can see, if you drop a whole heap, it's not gonna process everything. You see, it leaves some burnt slag on the press. So, sorry, I'm struggling to find my words. Then if we drop some more burnt slag on top of that, nothing happens, and this is just going to get clogged. Alright, so what I found best is to do is just have one, block that off, then we have another one, and so on and so forth. Alright, and then what you want is conveyors to drop it in. Alright, now we know we've got spores left and gold, so we need to separate those. So let's make a little box over here for the spores, and we want the gold in here. So here filters again, so we want to filter wet spores. Okay, first we want to say block selected element, which is going to be, I think, let's block gold first. Alright, because we want the gold to come right over here. Alright, and then we say block spores. Where's spores? There we go. Spores. We want them to go over here. Right. Gonna filter them through so that the wet spores fall into this little container we've made over here, and the gold should just continue along. If there is gold that drops through again, it should fall right over here. So we're going to have to open this up, then we grab some launchers, alright, let's copy this section over to there and this over to here. Block this off over here. Oh, and another feature is if you select, like I just selected the conveyors, and you press Control, you can actually replace previous blocks, which we don't want now. We want to block gold. There we go. I just want to put a conveyor in there because otherwise the gold will fall, or the spores will fall through and land on the yellow blocks. And we'll just sit there. We don't want that. Right, so let's then block this off as well. Let's use, what do I want to use? Launchers or conveyors? Let's use launchers. Just make little teeny launchers. Copy those through. Oh, I want to copy the whole thing. There we go. Let's see if this works. Okay, so it blocks the gold and lets the spores through. Excellent. Now, not all of the slag burnt, so let's get some more flames in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take another filter. We are going to block burnt slag. I'm going to move that through over here. Then we need a launcher. That is not launchers. First one over here. Do want to block it off as such. Yeah, that doesn't matter, we'll just leave that there. I'll put little single ones down here. I'm gonna move this down because you want to move them incrementally. You don't want a whole heap to come through. Alright, I think that's all we're gonna actually need for now. We're not gonna need the last one, but it's fine. Just want to process these. There we go. Let's copy these. I deleted them instead of copy. My bad, my bad, my bad, my bad. There we go, that's what I wanted to do. Okay, then we want launchers. Let's do conveyor. Not there, but from here to here. Right, then we're gonna need launchers up here. I don't think the third one's gonna be used a lot though. And then let's get all this out of here so we can get the conveyor belts built. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, there we go, that looks nice. See, only one little bits to come through, so it doesn't get clogged. Alright, golden spores are getting separated. We'll get our spores in its own little container, and the gold's gonna move through. Brilliant. Alright. Okay, let me get this cleared up and we'll take it further. Alright, now let's see if it filters out the slag. It does. It does. Brilliant. Okay, so now we're gonna leave that to do its own thing. Alright, so we've got a little bit of a problem. The slag is not filtering through as it's supposed to. So the best would be to just run this through another filter that blocks slag over here. Alright. The normal slag will be blocked. We block slag. Allow everything except slag. Alright, so what we'll do then is just make another container for the little bit of slag that's left. So that can come over here. Alright. And then how am I gonna do this? No, I don't want. No, we don't want to do that. We're making it difficult for ourselves. Alright, so we need block burn slag. That's what we need. Over here. And let's just make another one. Burn slag again. Which will then move it over here. Like so. Alright. Let's hope that remedies the situation. Doesn't look like it. Let's see if this maybe helps. The third one helps. Because now this is all clogged up. We're gonna have to remove burn slag from here. Alright. Don't worry, there's a better way of doing it. And I'll show you in a sec. Alright, see, we've got another problem. We've got wet spores. That's coming through with the gold. Oh, and that actually gets collected down here. Brilliant. Okay, so let's leave it. Let's just let it do what it does. Because the wet spores will be moved all the way down here and will collect at the bottom. This is heaping up again. I'm not doing a good job, am I? Let's actually move this up here. Why am I prolonging this? It should actually be from a greater height that we need to drop it, but this is just to show you how we process the burnt slag and the slag. Okay, so while that is moving along over there, good way to do this would be I just want to. I don't think we're gonna need this. Okay, is you have a container. And a filter that says allow only burn slag through. Alright. And we'll You know what? We're not going to use conveyors. Let's just do this. Let me just copy these over, and you'll see the method in my madness in a second. Oops, I just moved it instead of copied it. Again, I need to hold in. What am I doing? Sorry guys. Just give me a second. Get my bearings. There we go. I'll copy that along. Then you get all your slag to drop into the container. What's this? Oh, this is bedrock. Okay. Then, when you burn it, that will drop the slag through then. Or the burnt slag, I mean. Here we go. And that then turn and just moves along the whole process. Alright, and now we've got a ton of spores. And that we also need to process. And that is a video for another day. So I'm going to move these all over. And while I do that, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. And in the next video, we will see what we can unlock next. And set up a proper process for getting sand and wet sand processed. We're going to be working with water, because that definitely we're going to have to separate the water, as our little dam that we've got here at the end is drying up quickly. So we're going to need to get more water. We're going to try and find some fluxite as well. And yep, that is a lot we still need to do. We've got some unbanked gold. Let's do that. We're on 2562. Got some more coming in, and that is it. Alright guys, I'll catch you in the next one.